So, guys, like I said earlier on, the contents that go into the body tag are the ones that are previewed on the browser. They're the ones that you can see displayed in the browser. Okay, so we'll be talking about some of these contents that go into the body tags. The first thing we will talk about before talking about elements is comments. Um, in different technologies, there are different ways by which you can comment. When I mean comments, I mean codes that are not, I mean words that are not part of the code, but it helps you give some sort of explanation about your code. For example, I want to pass an information in this file, but I do not want it to be rendered as a code. I can use comments, and comments in HTML is done with this syntax. Can you see? My VS Code has completed it for me, but this is the first portion of the syntax, and this is like the second portion of the syntax. So whatever content that goes in between is a comment. It won't be rendered as a code, but it will still be a part of this file. So using comments, let's talk about elements. They kind of give instructions to the browser on how a particular content should be displayed. Okay, so elements are noted to be from the beginning of your opening tag to the end of the opening tag. They are all of this line is an element. This is a title element. Okay, this is the opening tag. I don't know if you understand. This is the content of the element. Now, another important thing to know about elements is that other elements can be nested in elements. For example, this head tag is an element. Okay, we have other elements nested inside it. When we proceed, we'll see more of that. So now, the first element we'll be talking about is the heading tag. The heading tag. Okay, the heading tags give importance to a particular content on a web page. So in case of content like titles, you want to make it stand out compared to the other texts on your web browser, you can make it and you can make it a heading tag. Or let's say you're writing a blog, if you want to write the title or heading of the blog, you can use heading tags. Now heading tags range from H1 to H6 depending on the size of the heading you're working with. H1 serves as the most important and the big heading tag, while H6 is the smallest heading in terms of sizes. So headings range from H1 to H6, with H1 being the biggest in terms of size. Sorry, size. Okay, let's start with the biggest one. That's H1. H1 is the biggest. Let's call this heading 1, and yeah. So this is where this is the first content obviously that I've just written in the body tag, and here we can see it. So this is the biggest heading that we have, though these styles can be altered with the use of CSS, but because we've not gotten to CSS now, we cannot talk about that yet. So the custom styling that comes with the browser is what gives each element its particular style. For this heading 1 now, if we're going to check the browser styles, we're going to see the custom styles that comes with this heading 1. And also the same way I'm going to do this, you can always inspect your web page with it. So styles here, if I click on this heading tag now, you can see we have all these styles already inbuilt, has been given to H1, even though we've not done any CSS. CSS is how you style all of your elements in HTML, all of your HTML elements rather. Since we've not done CSS, we would originally not expect any style, but no, there are inbuilt styles that comes with browsers, and that is why this heading has these styles, because there's a front styles of 2am. If I decide to hover around this H1 now, we can see that there are some sort of orange yellowish color up and below the element itself. These are margins. If I open this up, as you can see, this box element is exactly how the elements in a browser works. Let's use this H1 for example. This is the space the element content occupies originally, right? But there are also some other features that adds to the size, that adds to the width, that adds to the height, and that is padding, border, and margin. We in CSS we call it box sizing, and this particular form is called the border box. Okay, so the margin comes before the border, while the margin, rather, let me explain it in a better language. The margin is outside of the border, the padding is inside of the border. Imagine over on top of this heading. That means that this is the margin, sorry, heading. The orange part is the margin. Had it been I added padding to this H1, we're going to see it in color green. Okay, we're going to see it in color green. That will show you that you've added padding to the element content. The one in green is the content, like I said. I mean, the one in blue, rather. The blue color is the element content. The orange gives the margin, and the green is the padding. You can always alter the color of your border. That's if you add a border to your element. So let's move on from all of that. I just need to show you that all of what you wrote here can be inspected on your browser, both the source code and the styles. So in case you would like to know how a browser, what makes up a particular web page, you can always inspect the source code, inspect the styles. Okay, so let's move on. The second heading that we'll be looking at is H2. This is the next heading to H1. It is not as big in size, but it is also big. As you can see, size wise, there's difference. Okay, there's difference. Same thing with H3. It keeps going down like that. H4 is smaller. Okay, H5 is smaller. And H6 is like the smallest. Oh, I made a mistake here. I'm sorry. And you must have noted that all my tags are written in lower cases. It's not like if you write them in upper cases, it wouldn't work. It will work, but for best coding practices, it is advisable you write your tags in lower cases. If I decide to turn this to a capital H, it is definitely still going to work, but it is not the best coding practice. Okay, writing in lower cases is the accepted coding practice. It's always good to follow good coding practices to ensure that you have a clean code and readable code. It's for readability and performance wise as well. So that's all about all the headings that we have. So the next element we'll be looking into is the paragraph. Okay, the paragraphs. Just like we all know, paragraphs are like a bunch of block of words in a particular web page. They're kind of grouped together, lines of sentences grouped together to make a particular block of words. Those are paragraphs, and that's what they are in code as well. Okay, paragraphs. So the tag for the paragraph element is p, just p, and whatever you put into the paragraph element, as kind of like stack up together to give one block of code. So for example, there's this syntax that we can use to just write, like, let's say 20 lines of code, 30 lines of code in VS Code, or 10 lines of code. So I'm going to use 10. It's called the lorem ipsum. Okay, so let's use lorem 10, and to give us a 10 line of words. Okay, so this is how the paragraphs looks like. If I decide that um I want 20 words instead, So I said I want 20 words instead. I can do lorem 20 and it gives me 20 words, right? So this is how paragraphs look like. If I choose to put another paragraph, it's going to, give it some sort of margin and space before it brings out the second paragraph, because it is part of the inbuilt styling for paragraphs. They are supposed to be stacked up together, away from the other pieces of words on the screen. So if let's do a lorem 30. Okay, so as you can see, this is one paragraph, this is another paragraph, and this now takes us to the different types of elements that we have in respect to display. Okay, we have the block level elements and we have the inline elements. Okay, the block elements and the inline elements. The difference between block and inline is that block elements take up of the width all of the width in this division. Okay, for example, this heading 1 that we used here, if it was an inline element, the moment I put the h2, the second element, it's supposed to come by the side. Okay, it's not supposed to go under it. It's not because I came below h1 to write h2, that's why we're seeing it like this. For example, let's use if I use the anchor tag, which is an inline element, let's just write something. Okay, then I put another. Oh, that's too much. That way we would not realize how it works. So let's use another anchor tag. As you can see, I came below as well to put the second link, but you see that you see that it keeps on going on the same line. Okay, inline elements only take up the space that it requires. The length of the content, okay, is what it takes. It does not take than more than the length of whatever content is in your inline elements. That's the difference between block and inline elements. You have a couple of inline elements like the anchor tag, like I've mentioned, your span, images are also inline. And block elements also, we have the headings, the paragraphs, the divs. Now this takes me to the anchor tag, since I've already brought it out. This right here is also an element, but if you notice, there's something like href in front of it. This is called attribute. Attributes kind of provide information about a particular element. For example, this anchor tag, now this attribute, the href attribute, gives us like the link to a destination. For example, if I put a link here, this leads to google.com, and I click on lorem, it takes me to the google.com page. Okay, so that is the function of attribute. It gives extra information to a particular element. It gives the information or instructions to a particular element. Also, another thing to note about attributes is that they are placed in the start tag. They are placed in the start tag, not in the close tag. They are placed in the start tag, and they also work in key value pairs. For example, this href is the key, and this link that I put here is the value. Another example is class. Let's give this a tag class. This is the key. Right now I'm going to give a value. I'm going to give a value to this key class. All right, let's call it link or something. Link here. Okay, so this in a way has given this another extra information that this particular anchor tag is in the class link. So if we are referring to a class of link now, right, this other anchor tag will not be referenced because it has not been placed in that same class. Okay, if I give this other anchor tag the same class, then they can also be generalized into that class. So that is what attributes do. This is what they do. They give instructions to or information to a particular element. All right, so let's continue with elements. That is how you use links. Anchor tags are used for links in case you want to link an external page to your page. And also you can link documents. You can link documents internally. For example, if I have another file in here, let me just put, let's say, about.html, okay, and I want to link this particular page to this second about page. I could just link it up from here. Okay, what you do is forward slash, then because they are in the same directory, just forward slash is enough. If they were in different folders, if it was another folder I was trying to link, you have to do this. You have to do dot slash. Okay, you have to do dot slash. But because we're working on the same folder, the same directory, a slash is enough. Then you just write about.html. Notice that there's nothing in my about.html. So if I click on lorem.ipsum now, it's going to go to a blank page because there's nothing in about them. And you can see live reload is not possible without body or tag. Okay, so let's continue with the elements. We also have other inline elements that we have. Let's use it here because I said inline. Strong. Let me use strong. Strong is used to give emphasis. I can't say emphasis. Is used to make a text bolder. Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. For example, if I move this into here, look at this compared to the other text. Okay, it is bold. That is what the strong tag does. I think back in the days they used to use bold, but I think it's now outdated and it's not part of best coding practices to use bold anymore. Conventionally, it is advisable to use strong now. The next inline tag that will be inline elements that we'll be looking into is italics. Okay, if you want to italicize a particular text, you can do this. Let's bring this into, okay, can you see italicized that particular text? There's another inline element that works like italics, but I don't know, you kind of give emphasis to that particular text instead, and it's called so let's take this and let's go let's go somewhere else. Let's use here. So this is it kind of add a bit of bold plus italics to that particular text to kind of make it stand out from the rest of the text. Another inline text that we can look at is code. Okay, this transforms your text, okay, from ordinary text to monospace. As you can see, it gives it some sort of monospace styling. It makes it different from the other text. Another one we can talk about is BR. Earlier on when I was talking about tags, I said not all tags are closing are comes in pairs rather. Not all tags comes in pairs. Some are self-closing. For example, BR. Okay. No, it doesn't need the second closing tag. Okay. So just BR and that's how it goes. And what BR does is it gives like a break. Let's just call it break. So I want you to focus on this space. If I remove BR, do you see what happens? It gives it like a line break, okay? So that's what BR does. BR gives line breaks. Then there's another one, same self-closing tags, HR. This is like an horizontal line, right? It gives your page division horizontally. It gives like a horizontal line to your page. All right. Another inline tag that we can look into is small. Okay, what small does it makes all the text inside it, all the content inside it, smaller than the rest of the web page. Okay, look at this. It makes it smaller than the rest of the page.